Okay, so today we're going to be doing a full tour of the back breeding room here at the shop. The tanks are probably looking the best we've had them in ages. I do have a shop you guys can come and visit where we sell fish, but this back room is kind of like my personal little breeding fish studio sort of a thing, and I think this is the most exciting room here in the whole entire store because I think breeding fish is probably the most interesting part of the hobby. There's babies galore. I just want to show you guys all of our cool fish. Where do you reckon we start today? I reckon we just kind of go rack by rack. I think there's 90 tanks in here, so we'll try and get through, I mean, as many as we can. There's some tanks with not a lot going on in them, but a lot have heaps going on in them. So I guess the first tank we can start with is up here. So this tank has in it some orange shrimp, and it also has some of these awesome little whiptails. So do you remember when we got these whiptails?
Yeah.
So they were from Trevor's room. So we went and visited Trevor, and then you were obsessed with the whiptails, and then he agreed to send you a pair. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and then we got them sent to here.
Yeah, he sent them here because I was like, there's no way I trust him to deliver it properly to your house. And then they got sent here, and then I put them in the tank down there. And then what happened was they started breeding like crazy. So I was like, I'm not gonna let go of them. So I bred up a few of them, and I was actually quite successful, and then we just never got around to giving them to you. So the pair's still in here. You can see one little guy in here. Now, the thing that's really annoyed me about these is that I was breeding them like clockwork in that bottom tank. Since I put them in here, they've done nothing. And I only started with like 10 orange shrimp in here. I think they're yellows, orange, I don't know. And they took over completely, and now there's like heaps of orange shrimp. You can see the Amazon swords have grown in well as well. I've been using a ton of this stuff lately, which you guys might notice now in some of my videos. So this is just foxtail, and this stuff is like a godsend for breeding. I've been obsessed with using it, man. It's been so good because like the shrimp cling to it, they blend in with it, it grows rapidly, and I think it makes the tanks look just so much nicer. And like, yeah, it grows rapidly, but every couple of weeks you just rip some out, put it in another tank, and it helps to take all that bad chemical out of the water, as well as the house plants do that same thing as well. So we've got like some philodendrons up here. This is a super successful breeding tank. Well, I mean for the orange shrimp, not for the whiptails, but we've got a super successful breeding tank, and it kind of like it's not a total eyesore. Like it's actually really therapeutic to look at. So
super green.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And like I've also got the banana leaves. I've been using them like crazy too. And the reason for that is, firstly, I think they look cool as well. They're like another little nice botanical. They release like a tiny amount of acid into the water, and they also don't release a ton of tannin. So like the water gets this nice like tropical tan color. But once they start getting in there, they pretty much start rotting like that. And there's all this biofilm growing on that banana leaf. And that feeds the shrimp as well as the whiptails. I've caught them eating on it before. And dude, it's like an unlimited food source, like all day, like a natural food source. So I also throw this bug buffet in all the time, and I feed them twice a day in here, and they go nuts. But another little cool tank, moving on from that, is this tank. This tank is so awesome. So we were going to film a video the other week pulling this apart, and we just didn't get around to it because we did it with the Zebs. Rat.
That's in the room beside.
Huh?
The bucket lid.
No, it's not. Someone's not in here. You close the front door. It's a rat. I think it's a rat.
Dude, that must be a big rat. Something moved out there.
Should we let Sammy at it?
Yes.
Wait. Just open the door, dude. That was wigs.
That was loud.
Yeah, man.
What is that?
Okay. I swear it was in here.
Something fell.
Should we let Sammy just go walk around? He wants the bug buffet.
Come on, Sammy. Go, get it some.
There's been a rat in here, and it's been like destroying my life, eating all the bug buffet.
Menace.
I don't sell any bug buffet that's been eaten by rats either, and I'm trying to work on it. So, all right, back to the fish, dude. We're gonna film this video. Okay, Next tank. So we were going to pull this tank down, and remember he had eggs?
Yeah.
So he's on eggs again. He's just constantly been on eggs like clockwork. These are the 201. So these are the Orinoco Angel Pleco. And I've had these for like ages, and I've got a video on how I bred them too. But man, there's heaps in here at the moment. I haven't actually found them that tricky to breed compared to some of the other high Pansistrus. So there's a few reasons for that, I think. And one of the reasons that I've noticed about this tank, there's shrimp in here now, and I think they've just kind of found their way in there sneakily. But originally this tank didn't have any shrimp. And remember the Zeb tank had like a few?
Yeah.
So I feel like these shrimp overpopulate the tank. And I don't know, like something with the catfish, I reckon they just might not like the itchiness, like of them just being around all the time, like their tentacles hitting them. And, you know, 1 or 2 shrimp in their space is okay because it helps with cleaning. But once the shrimp start breeding and going nuts, I start to run into problems. So I'm gonna actually have to start like trying to stop the shrimp from breeding to try and breed the catfish because it actually becomes a problem. But I also added these green neons the other day. And these are a little fish that I've not really paid much attention to in the last, well, I guess as long as I've had fish. But recently, I've kind of gone back and started looking at maybe some of the more common aquarium species. And man, I've become obsessed with Tetras. I don't know what it is. They've just been so fun and so pretty. Like, I don't know many freshwater fish you can get that look that good. I'm gonna grow those out and hopefully breed them at some point. But they also just look so pretty in here with the banana leaves kind of coming in. You can see here, this is why I use banana leaves. So there's like mold and detritus kind of forming here on the leaf, but there's little baby snowball plecos eating off of it at the same time. So like that bug buffet, because it's like goes all like powdery and stuff, if you want to crush it up, kind of covers all the surfaces in the tank, and it helps to form that biofilm, especially when it reacts with like the leaves and stuff, and it just creates like a excellent food source for all the fish. So like, I'm really into that natural style. Yes, it can be a little bit dirty sometimes. Like if you're not on top of your maintenance and you don't have like a bristlenose or shrimp in there, it's going to create mess. But if you can create like an ecosystem in there, you know, little tetras picking at the walls, these plecos are going to rasp at the walls too, and the shrimp are too. It's actually super beneficial and a really good food. So have a look now at how many babies are in here. Now I pulled out 25 the other day, and I put another 15 or 20 in the shop. And I'm going to grow some of these out at home and hopefully breed them up in a couple of years' time again. But they're awesome too, and that's as big as they get. These are a fish that does a lot of neglect, does them a lot of good. Like, just don't look at them too much, because I find that the second I start paying too much attention to any of my plecos, they start giving me the flicks. So, all right, next tank down here. This tank's a whole lot of nothing really, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. So this is just my emerald rasbora tank. Now, it looks like nothing's in here, but if we left for like 2 minutes and just sat here and watched, there's some really, really cool fish. So emerald rasboras are like a tiny CPDs. They can actually crossbreed with the CPDs, so celestial pearl danios. I've found them really fun to breed. So I've had more success breeding these than I have CPDs. I've had way more success breeding these. The CPDs weren't just like reliable spawners for me, and I don't know why, but there's I think 20 of them in here. And the way I breed them is I have the tank set up exactly like this with the tub, the mops inside of it, so just spawning mops in there. And I've added a plant in here, some banana leaves just to like add cover, and some of this hornwort as well. And this stuff's just to kind of like make them feel comfortable. And it's like not necessary. I've had them in here just with the tub, but I reckon you get more eggs when they start feeling a lot more comfortable. And basically what I do is every day, so I feed them bug buffet, feed them lots of brine, shrimp, all that sort of stuff. I come into this little tub and collect the eggs. So they lay eggs in here pretty much all day. You can see it's a little bit dirty. I've had a bit of a cyanobacteria problem in here. But again, the cyanobacteria is not bad, and I actually will take some of that cyano like that, and I'll just feed it to like shrimp tanks, and that'll be gone in like 10 minutes. So I'm not scared of cyano. It's not the prettiest, but if you have a cleanup crew somewhere, it's not a problem. So I'll take the mop out, try and make sure there's no rasboras in there, and then catch out the little buggers that have snuck in. But normally, there's heaps of eggs in the bottom here, so at the moment, yeah, there's eggs. So if you come have a look, okay. So there's an egg here. Can you see that? like in between my fingers there.
Oh yeah, very small.
Yeah. So at a first glance, there's probably like, I don't know how many eggs, 20?
So small.
But like, you'll get that many eggs every couple of days, you know? So over time, you can actually build up quite a large number of them. Now, I'm a bit lazy with raising them up because I don't need to make hundreds of these. So I want to do it just like an easy, simple way. All I do is take them to a tank like this, over here. So this is just like a little grow out tank. There's no snails, no shrimp or anything in here. There might be a shrimp in there. Wait, did I just catch it out? Okay, good. There's no snails, no shrimp or anything in there because they're going to eat the eggs. And I'll just take the eggs and the cyano, I don't care about that because they're going to, like, I can get something to eat it down later, and pour it into the tank. So all those eggs will go in there, and these are super easy. It's on light aeration. They'll just hatch out, and the little babies will start forming on the walls, and then they'll start free swimming. I feed them green water, bug buffet, and sometimes I'll mash up a bit of green cuisine, but mainly bug buffet and green water. And then they just start to raise up, and then all of a sudden, you know, a little while later, you've got a tank like this one here. So these are some baby emerald rasboras, and there's probably like 50, 60 in here. Look at them all down the bottom. How cute are they? Yeah, so I'm actually going to save these for myself and set up a nice 4-footer with these. And I want to do like a little bit of like a rock trouty sort of bottom. Because imagine them with like hill stream loaches. Yeah, so I'm going to be pretty excited to do that. But also you can see that hornwort just coming in so useful. So I definitely recommend using some kind of floating plant. I've just found this hornwort stuff grows the best compared to like wisteria, water sprite, and I hate duckweed. Duckweed. I hate duckweed, so I don't want that. But yeah, I mean, hornwort seems to be like a bit of like a lifesaver for me. And this is like, it looks really bright in here because we've got a lot of lights going. But each of these tanks has pretty low light. Like they're surviving on the bare minimum. So, and they're kind of just like, they act as a good hide, but they also, yeah, like I said, take the chemicals out of the water and just give you a lot of resilience. So we'll come back. I'll pour this in here. That's what's going on in this tank. So there's a little tutorial on how to breed these. Right, down here, this is freaking awesome. See, look, they're eating the cyano.
They're
See?
into it.
Dude, come have a look.
Feasting.
Come closer. It's awesome. That's why I don't care. Like, I'm not afraid of it. Like,
That's a piece
isn't that so cool? This is a great tank example. Like if I get like a super like dirty plant out of like a really messed up tank, like this Anubias was covered in algae. I just drop it in here and 2 days later it's crystal clear. So this one's, they're currently working on this one. It's got some like really persistent black algae or whatever it's called. And they're working on that, but dude, this is like a little cleaner tank. So in here, I've got a batch of, I think 2 batches of baby red bristlenose. And I've also got like 2,000 red cherry shrimp in here. If you come in and have a look, there's a ton of banana leaves in here, and a ton of this foxtail as well. But look at my like leaves, see them all? So they're eating that biofilm, decaying that leaf for me, and it looks pretty, and it just does its job, you know? Like, I think the banana leaves add this nice little tropical look to a breeding tank, so I'm a super big fan of them. And they're all over the place around me locally, so I just use them like crazy. This tank is like the same story as the whiptail tank. This one is a tank that I was using to raise Otto Cinclus, and they're still in here. I'll probably put like 10 or 15 in here. There might be a few less because I harvested a bunch of them. Well, I took a bunch of them to my living room tank, and I left the rest in here. But the shrimp just went nuts as well, and these are like the orange ones. Heaps of them in here too when you move the weeds around and stuff. But yeah, this has turned into a little orange shrimp breeding tank now. When these Ottos kind of reach age and they start to fatten up and become a bit bigger, I'm probably going to have a try at breeding them. I've got no clue how I'm going to do it, but I really want to have a go. But in the meantime, I'm going to breed some shrimp up. It'll pay for the tank, and it's super fun to look at it. So, you know, it's a good way of using a grow out tank. And the Ottos and shrimp just go so well together. So that's another cool tank. And you can see too, I've added like twigs and stuff for them. So they've really eaten away at the twigs. And I feel like Ottos probably eat a little bit of wood, in my opinion, because those branches have really been gnawed down. yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to go about breeding them. Otters are one of those like tricky, finicky fish that if you look up how to breed, there's like 1 or 2 random YouTube videos on it. They're not like a commonly bred fish. But below that is another awesome tank, and this one has turned into a red cherry shrimp breeding tank. But I've also got a little colony of peppermint bristlenose that have been breeding in here too. So you'll find the occasional baby in here. Look, dude, look at that. Isn't that nuts? Like, could you... I just can't stop them breeding. So, but if you look at the sponge filter, you see the baby peppermints. I think they're super cute. See them all there? So, I just let the babies come out, raise up in here, and then I pull them out as I need them. There's not that many in here. Like, I'm kind of over, you know, trying to pump out and pump out and pump out batches of fish. I kind of just let whatever happen in the tanks now. And like, if I wanted to breed a heap of these, I could, but I just don't bother. Dude, there's a Rilly there. There's a couple of Rillies in here. See them? How neat. But the other cool thing is, look at this log. There's a little blackworm culture in here at the moment.
It's living in, like,
They're living in the algae. And look, they stick their heads in. It's like coral. Where do you see that?
That is awesome.
Yeah, I know. So I don't even harvest these blackworms. I feel like the shrimp eat the heads off of them a little bit, and the peppermints probably eat a few of them. But look at this blackworm culture, man. Look at that. As many as you want. Piles of them in there. So this is like a really cool tank. This is, I mean, look at all this mold now. But this is like a tank where if you don't have like those mid-level swimming fish or like anything like that, you end up accidentally breeding a bunch of really cool like like surface level, what I'm trying to say, like shrimp, detritivores, worms, you know what I mean? And I think it's just as cool. Alright, another cool tank. So these have really done nothing for me in the last like year, and I don't know where I'm at with them. I've kept this colony of L201s, no, L397s. I've had these for years, and I've gotten, you know, probably 5 or 6 batches of babies out of them. Like, AB breeds these like crazy, but I feel like I got too many in this tank, and, you know, what sort of happens is you go through like phases of liking certain fish, and these are one where I've just kind of maybe gone off them a little bit. I don't know, I might eventually sell these. These are just one of the things that like kind of got, you know, stuck in the room, and I haven't had the heart to like try and sell them. There's a few fish in here that you can see are like that. And yeah, they're in here, they're happy. I mean, I'm changing their sponge filter all the time. They eat the banana leaves, the driftwood, all that. They're just not breeding, and it's probably because there's just too many adults in here. So I don't know, I might take like a pair of them home or something like that. But at the moment, I'm just kind of like keeping them in here until I finally take them and do something with them. But I mean, they love bug buffet, and I'm sure that they would breed if I like put a bit more effort into them. But you know, I might get the occasional lucky batch from here from time to time. There's just like, you're talking about a fish that lives out in the wild, out in a huge creek or stream or whatever they live in, and you put them in like 60 by 30 centimeters of space with like 9 adults. They just start wigging out completely. So that doesn't really work too well for breeding, but that's what's going on in here. And up here, I've got a video where we took this tank apart. This was a Hillstream Loach breeding tank, and we've been selling out of here like crazy. But this is the leftovers of a batch of Hillstream Loaches I had. And if you come in and have a look, there's still quite a few. So like there was a good couple hundred of Hillstream Loach babies in here. I find these really hard to keep in stock, and I also find them hard not to breed. So I'm going to do a tank probably and take all these home, set them up in that 4-footer, and just get it filled with babies, you know. So they're really cool. I'll show you how to breed them in a second. Up here, this is, I've kind of as well been kind of into the pseudomogals for like the last year, and these are part of the pseudomogul collection that I've got. These are the honey blue eyes. They are so cool. So not many people are keeping these in the hobby, I don't think. And I'm lucky where we're, you know, 2.5 hours from where they're found locally in the wild. So people have them in ponds and things like that. You're not allowed to collect this fish from the wild because they're actually endangered, but you can keep and breed them and sell them. So if you find someone who's bred some in their ponds, you can get some from them and breed them yourself. they're a really small blue eye. I find they're relatively small compared to like Signifers and Pacific blue eyes. They're, you know, on size with like a spotted blue eye, but they're not super colourful until you get them in the right light. And I found people from what I've spoken to, like with hobbyists and stuff like that, say that this fish is better outside. They probably do better outside in my area because obviously they're found locally, well, relatively locally. But I feel like with a few more generations of people breeding this domestically, they'll start to become like a whole lot better inside. So the reason I say that, I just don't see the colour that often unless they're like breeding. And I mean, they also do better in a bigger number as well, I find. But, you know, if we can all put some work into these, get them breeding up and get a little domestic strain going, I think that'd be really good because I'd love to see these all over the world. I don't know how they're going to get all over the world, but I'm sure they'll find their ways into other countries. And I'd love to see this fish as a staple in the hobby because I think they're really cool. And, you know, not a lot of people are keeping them. All right. Dude, this tank is crazy. So this tank, I don't know, kind of accidentally made another cool little aquascape ecosystem sort of thing going on here. There's blue shrimp in here. They're probably going to take the tank over very, very soon. But in here, I've got a few other species. So I originally set this tank up for red lizard whiptails. And there's a pair of them. I bought 5 like a couple of years ago, messed up, and I was down to a pair. The pair bred in another tank. And then I got excited about it, so I put them in here. And they've done nothing since. So on top of the pair, I was like wondering what would do well to make them hopefully breed again. I decorated the tank a little bit and added some of the emerald rasboras. Now the emerald rasboras have grown out, and because there's so much hiding space and all this bulbitis has grown in and the moss is growing in really well and the anubias and everything, like it's working as an ecosystem, they act super natural. And constantly all day I see them dancing around here. And it's so fun to watch. Like they're a really interesting little neat nano species. So I've actually just fallen in love with this tank just to look at it. The shrimp are breeding, and I've got a good feeling that eventually I'm just going to start seeing baby red lizard whiptails in here. But I'm happy to just wait in the meantime and just enjoy this tank as it grows in, as more of just like a fun, you know, if it happens sort of a tank. Because when you've got 90 breeding tanks, not everything needs to be cooking. So one of the tricks I've done, I think the red lizard whiptails bred in a tube on the floor, and I've still got like a tube I think in the back corner. But what I've also done is taped a PVC pipe vertically because Eric Bodrock, when he came and visited, said that they breed inside vertical pipes, so they must breed in like branches or whatever. So I've done that, and I'm still on the hunt for like a hollow didgeridoo branch that I'm going to shove in here eventually. But I kind of like it too because I've also added like the log kind of sticking out of the top, and I've got the plants coming out of the top too. It makes it look a little bit more pretty. But how healthy is that bulbitis? Like, you know, for a little water fern plant in a really low tech abused aquarium, I'm pretty happy to see that, to be honest. So because of this fish, the little rasboras dancing around, I got inspired and I wanted to get more into like other types of rasboras. So down here, I've had these before, but only as a little kid, and they're super common. These are the Harlequin rasboras, and I love them. So I'm raising these out. I'm going to have a crack at breeding them. I reckon they'll be pretty fun to breed. But I've also got them in here with some royal whiptails. These I have bred, but royal whiptails are just painful to breed. I find them tricky to spawn, and I find the babies even trickier to raise. So I'm just waiting until one day eventually there's going to be a spawn in here, and then I'm going to try and raise the spawn again. But at the moment, I just want to raise out these little harlequins, and then when it comes time to breeding them, you know, in a couple of months, once they're a little bit bigger, and I start seeing maybe a little bit of breeding behaviour, I'll have a go. And yeah, it's a cool tank, but I love watching these little fish just swim around. It's been so long since I've just let myself keep like species that are worth like $10 max, you know what I mean? Because like I was breeding for profit for so long, so to get back into like the old school, you know, common stuff that beginners use and all that has been so fun. And it's actually really interesting trying to figure out how to breed them all, and I feel like there's not a lot of information on how to breed fish like this.
Facts.
For as common as they are, you know what I mean? So I'd love to like try and figure that out. That's another fun part of the hobby, is like the puzzle. Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
Like you get something and like the red lizards, it's like it's not breeding, and then one day you just accidentally do something in the room and something happens and it's like, I never thought of it like that. And like, it's pretty cool. So, yeah. All right, what's happening down here? Oh, okay. So we got more whiptails down here. Now, I haven't really paid much attention to these. I've got a feeling these are the same common whiptails as before. Again, no breeding. But the reason they're separated, I've got a feeling there might be a separate species, and I don't know why I think that. I think I just got them from someone else, and I don't know. These did breed for me in a 4-footer on the other side of the room, but again, they haven't done anything since. And I've got a feeling with a lot of these catfish, I feel like they're super seasonal, because like they were only breeding that certain time of the year, if you remember, like that last year, like maybe October, November, they all started to really crack. So I'm kind of waiting until that time this year. And I want to see if they start breeding more. Because if they start breeding more, then my theory is kind of true. Like, they're more seasonal. Because we've just gone through winter and they've just done nothing. But if they stop breeding, then I'm going to have to really ask myself a few questions and try and figure out what the hell to do, because that's a bit of a failure otherwise, so I'll give them some food too. And again here, we'll like go quickly past this tank. This is another great tank, really similar to that other peppermint breeding tank, but in here I haven't had any breeding from the peps for a while, so I added a new female in here. And I've also got another mountain of red cherry shrimp, but look at how cool this tank is, man. I just love these tanks with so much little things going on, like, you know, you can sit in this tank and just be mesmerized just looking at all those little shrimp doing all their things, and especially once you give them some food and you watch them come out, it's probably the best part of the hobby, to be honest, is just feeding your fish and watching them all get super excited for a bit of a meal. But yeah, I reckon in the fish room right now we're probably close to like 50,000 shrimp.
I totally agree.
You reckon?
Oh yeah.
Alright, over here, this is a longfin bristlenose breeding tank. So remember I got those from you? And then they bred, and then they had the albinos. Well, I bred the babies back together, and now we've got all commons again. But these are the longfin ones, and I just did a batch just for the hell of it. And yeah, I don't know, it's fun to just like breed, you know, common, fun little things, go from generation to generation, moving on, and working on your own little personal line. So I feed these bug buffet as well, and they love it. And that's it for here. Alright, so this is another nice little interesting tank that's doing nothing at the moment. So probably a year ago, I started breeding some pygmy cories, and I was having heaps of success, and I was taking it for granted. These have totally stopped breeding, and I've just had an idea. Remember that pygmy cory tank had heaps of spawning mops?
Yes.
There's no spawning mops in here. But
maybe it's that.
Maybe, because I had pygmy cories and they were breeding like crazy, like non-stop, and I was doing the exact same care, everything, and I also had them in with blue shrimp, which they're in with now, and they're doing just as good. So I wonder if, I'm going to add a spawning mop now, but I wonder if that's why they're not breeding, because they haven't bred for like, I don't know, ages, man. Like 5 months, 6 months, and these wouldn't be seasonal because they're just so common. So I'm going to chuck that in and see if that makes a difference. But that's my pygmy cory tank. They're a really cool little fish. They stay super small. They're like little hummingbirds, and I think they're really cool to colony breed because they're just so tiny. And I love colony breeding catfish because most of the time you see people, you know, they lay eggs everywhere and then everyone's picking out the eggs. There's the red lizard. Well, you got him. See, they're worth keeping. Like, they're just
Super
little wet
cool.
pets. Like, you know, not many people have them. I think they're super neat. They love bug buffet, that's for sure. And, wow. So I think that one there is the male. No, that's the girl. And she's looking skinny, so the boy could be in there somewhere, fanning away, you never know. Okay, in here, we've got the world famous zebra plecos. And I just finished taking apart this colony. So remember, we've got 22 babies. I've got a video you guys should go and watch actually on taking this down, but they started breeding for me at the end of last year, and now they haven't bred for me since January. So I've just been leaving them in there. I took apart the colony, so I had 9 adults, and I think what we thought was a trio of 2 boys and a girl, put them back in here, and we put them in with like 3 other young ones as well. So I'm going to try and breed these over summer again, I'm going to try and breed them at home too and see if I can work them out. But they're super cool and yeah, they're super expensive. I know that, but I don't want to. I don't know, I'm not really in it for the money. Like, I don't really care. I want to really raise these up. I want to get the babies bigger again and try and breed them again.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, how cool would that be to breed the babies of them and have like, imagine like a big. Honestly, if I can do it, if I can pull it off and raise up all like 30 of those babies or whatever,
that would be a massive colony.
I'm going to put them in an 8-footer.
Oh,
Imagine that. Like an 8-foot just like filled with zebs. And then you could add like the cardinal tetras on the top. Look awesome. So that's what's going on in there. Up here, these are actually really neat. So these are the Zenataka Eisenai. They're a Gadid. And I got these from AB when I went and filmed at AB's a couple months ago. No, geez, a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And I've been raising them up on Bug Buffet, and I've also been raising them up on live baby brine shrimp as well. And just slowly growing them out. But the reason I'm super excited about these is he had a super cool tank in them. I was so excited when I edited that part of the video because it just looked so good on camera. So I really want to raise these out so I can make a tank like that. But I also have a bit of an ulterior motive with these fish, and I want to use them as algae eaters. So these are apparently really good for eating blackbeard algae. And I think they're also good for eating hair algae, right?
Yeah.
So my idea is that if I can always keep a colony of Gadids in my fish room, every time I start to have an algae breakout in one of my tanks, instead of doing the whole rip it down peroxide, I can take all the fish out, put them in another tank, and just drop a bomb of these in there, and they can deal with the problem for me the natural way, and I'll get like a little colony of them breeding up in that tank, and I thought it'd be really cool. So they're kind of slow to grow, and I think they're going to be a little bit of like a pain to breed and get up into a big number. But I think once I got a lot of adults, I'm not going to stress as much, like, because they'll be popping out babies all the time. So I just need to get through this like weird stage of having babies and trying to raise them up to the size where they breed. But super cute. They look like they're meant to be massive, but they're tiny, which I think is really neat as well. Down here, I've got the parents for the longfin bristlenose, but that's not really even worth talking about. And then up here, this is a blue eye rearing tank. So all these plants were sitting in the blue eyes tanks, like up in here with the adult Ficcatus. And they were laying all their eggs in these roots. So I just took the plants out and jumped them in here, and you can see all the babies that have raised up. So I like to just like throw a lot of my blue eye eggs in a tank exactly the same as I do with the rasboras, and just let the eggs hatch out naturally, raise up the fry in there all the way through to adulthood or sellable size. And I raise up the different types of blue eyes together as well. So, because like the females and males, I mean, you can tell easily which one's which, like you never mix them up. So that's kind of cool, and I've been having a lot of fun breeding them. Down here, this is an example of how I've set up a hill stream loach breeding tank. Now, this is probably going to be some good advice for anyone trying to breed hill stream loaches. So I set up 2 tanks, the one you saw before, with hundreds of babies, and this one had significantly less rocks in it. Still looks like a ton of rocks, and it also had the bare bottom. I added a pair in here, and I guarantee you they were laying just as many eggs as they were. But the problem is, because there's not enough rocks, they were eating the eggs, and they were also able to eat the fry. So there's way less chances when they do lay eggs in here that the fry are going to survive. And especially once there was 1 or 2 babies in here, the babies can get even further underneath and eat more of the babies. So I feel like now for hill stream loaches, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to set up like a perfect breeding tank, because I know exactly, I think, how they're going to breed. You want like pebbles along the bottom underneath your rocks. So like pebbles, medium, big rocks, and like can't work your way up. So it's like they all fall down right to the bottom, and that way they can't be predated on. Another thing that's important, you don't want snails in that tank. So I've had like mystery snails in the tanks before, and their babies can go and get underneath and eat the eggs too and completely screw the breeding up. So there is babies in here. It worked, but we could get like thousands of babies with like one little tweak to the breeding method. Down here is more emerald rasboras. Up here is more blue eyes. Up here is the breeding colony for my Ficcatus. So these are getting a bit long in the tooth. I want these to, I might phase these out now and start growing up some more little breeders. But the way I breed my blue eyes is I'll just set up a tank like this for them, exactly the same as the honeys. And every weekend, on Sunday, Saturday, whenever I come in here and spend a bit of time just mossing out, I come and check the mop for eggs. So you can manually pick these eggs, which I've done a lot of, but recently I've just been taking all these eggs, taking the mop out of all of the tanks. So I'll go grab the honey mop, I'll grab the Focatus mop, and I'll bring them over to a tank like this and throw all the mops in here. So this is like this week's batch of blue eyes. And so we've got like an Ivan Stoffy mop, we've got a Aru mop, a red neon mop, and a Focatus mop. And you can see the little babies starting to hatch out. They're freaking tiny. Can you see that guy against my hand at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they'll be that tiny and they're painful to raise. So a few tricks that I do. I feed them bug buffet and I mush it up in like a milk in the water. And that seems to work really, really well. Like I've raised up babies just doing that. But another thing that's been an absolute revelation for raising tiny babies for me, and I don't know why I didn't take it more seriously, is green water. Because green water lasts in the water so long and can just prolongs the amount of time like that you can get away with not feeding them between feedings. So normally I'd feed them in the morning with bug buffet, in the afternoon with bug buffet, and in the afternoon with bug buffet as well. But since I started using the green water, dude, they'll last all day, and you can still see the green water in there. So I poured one big cup of it, which I get, we'll go all the way out. We'll just keep going with this tangent, which I get from these screwed up 4-footers. So we're not going to talk about that today, but I'm going to find a container here. So I come out to one of like the, I guess, f***ed up tanks. Is a good way to describe it. And I'll come in and get a cup of this stuff from just like a dirty old green water tank. And you can see the color of this stuff right here. So this stuff might not look like it's alive to you, but all of those, that green is little tiny organisms of life. And you can actually feed that to really tiny babies, I found. So I've been using this for raising tetras. I've been using this for raising little rainbows, blue eyes, all that stuff. It works phenomenally because it just lasts in the water so long. So take it, and you can't really overfeed it either, and pour it in like this. You can kind of see it mixing into the water, and those little baby blue eyes will munch on that green water all day. And if you supplement that with bug buffet, you're just going to get heaps better batches of babies. It just works so much better. So that's how I do the blue eyes. How good is it looking back here? Like, look at this.
So clean.
It's looking great. Okay. Let's do this one first, just because it's a quick one. Up here, yesterday, AB brought me some like of his fish that I've been eyeing off for a while from his fish room. Just brought them up to swap them around. So he brought me this pair here of these Borellii, which are the epistogrammas, and I haven't bred epistos for over a year easily. So I set them up in this tank. I'm probably going to take them home and do like a proper aquascape setup for these because they'll breed so much better. But I do have a pair of Borellii in here. I've never bred them, so I'm going to have a crack at breeding these at some point. And yeah, I'm super excited about those. But they do eat the bug buffet straight away, hey. And I've only had them for like 24 hours. So I reckon they might breed if I just let that tank get like a little bit more rotten, or throw some shrimp in there or something, because they can eat the shrimp babies and get stimulated to breed, but we'll see. All right, this tank is cool. So in here I have there must be up there with my favorite types of cories because I've kept them all this time. So I bred a heap of Trileniatus, panda cories, gold laser cories. I still love them a lot, and other types of cories. These are one that I've just kept somehow because I don't want to let them go. These are called Napawensis cories. They get about this big. They're awesome. I don't know why they're not more popular. And I think it's because of their name. So I've talked about this before. They were called Napawensis cories. I was a bit naughty and I decided I was going to call them Galaxy cories to try and help them sell, because they do have this really cool, I think, galaxy pattern on them. Like you're not going to see them in this tank, man. We'll flash up a photo of what they look like. But in a big school, you do see them quite often. But when there's like dribs and drabs in them, they hide all day. Like if I came and sat here and waited a little while, they'd start coming out and I could see them. But while we're here filming, we're not going to see them. I want to try and colony breed these. So what I did was I set it up with a bunch of this foxtail, and I added some pot plants, a But what I did add was this rock pile. And they've been spawning like crazy. There's eggs here, all through these mops. Every time I do a water change on my automatic water change system, these guys breed. And my idea is, yes, they're going to eat a few of the babies when they hatch. But when these babies hatch, hopefully they hit the bottom and they can go and hide underneath these rocks and get away from the parents. And mushing up the bug buffet into a milk, hopefully some of those little bug buffet particles can slip under the rocks and feed the babies until they're big enough to come out. So I think I'm probably going to add more rocks and just try and cover the entire bottom here so that the fish get stimulated, breed in the top in all of this stuff, and then the eggs hatch and then they fall through and go through all the rocks before the parents can get them. And then when they're big enough, you pull apart the tank, you've got 50 Napawensis cories and you did really nothing. And you watch them do the whole process naturally in a tiny tank. I think that's kind of awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is cool too. So this is a red bristlenose breeding tank. And for some reason, I just decided I was going to make a ton of red bristlenose. So I just put a pair in here. He's probably on eggs right now, and there's babies in here already. And I don't know why I'm making so many red bristlenose at the moment. I just kind of got on a roll with it, and now I've got heaps of them. But they're kind of cool. Again, they're just bristlenose. Like, you can see they're not hard to make. We've got heaps of them going, so they're kind of just like a filler thing for the moment. This tank's cool. I haven't bred platies since I was 15 or 14 or something like that, and I thought we had these really nice looking platies out the back. I guess they're kind of like sunset platies or whatever, but I just put them in this tank and started breeding them, and you can see they've started to drop little babies. So I've found it really fun actually breeding some of these little common things again, just remembering what it was like to do something that's just so easy. Look at this little guy. So the tip for these, obviously I feed them the bug because that little guy needs to eat tiny food. But the tip was tons of floating plant and also houseplants with the roots. So when the females get gravid and eventually drop their babies, because these are live bearers, they're going to give birth to live young. When they do that, we need somewhere for the babies to hide because they're just going to turn around and eat them straight away. So like all of this stuff is a perfect hiding place for them to go up into. And yeah, you might get like, the female might drop 20 babies and she might eat 5, but you still get 15 instead of like, waiting until the day she's ready to drop her babies, catching her out, moving to another tank. I just can't be bothered with that. So I've just set it up exactly like this and it's working. So it's been pretty fun. When was the last time you bred platies?
Oh, I reckon 4 years.
They're a couple of
yeah, they do.
For like not being,
They're really nice fish.
Yeah. This tank's cool. So these are rabbit snails. Now I'm breeding these up because I want to stock a lot of my tanks with them. Rabbit snails, these ones kind of went a little bit bad on me. I had them in the shop and they weren't getting enough mineral in the water. So some of their shells kind of went a bit bad and I lost quite a few. But the ones that did make it started to breed and you can see little babies start popping out. Yeah. So these are a live bearing snail, like trumpet snails, except they don't mass produce and they get a lot bigger. And I think they're a lot cuter. Like you can see this guy at the front, he's not very good looking, but some of them just look really, really cute. And yeah, I'm trying to breed them up, because I want to start putting them around the place. But what I did to fix the mineral issue was I just added this bag of crushed coral. I'm going to see if that makes a difference. And I've also, these get lots more water changes, so that mineral is going to be constantly getting replenished for them. So hopefully that fixes the issue. But this is just like a little snail breeding tank, which I don't see a lot of people trying to breed snails except for you.
Yeah.
So we've all seen these before, I think, if we're on the channel. This is what happens if you do one batch of white cloud mountain minnows. So I've just been raising them out because I love seeing a tank with tons of little hungry, angry little fish that swarm around the bug buffet. So these are a really underrated beginner fish, man. They're so easy to breed. They're so fun. They're like the poor man's neon tetra. They got this nice white, I don't know if it's a white line, but they got a line down their body. And they're cheap. So I reckon heaps of people should be trying to breed these and keep them. Obviously you don't make much money off them, but if you're into breeding fish, you want to watch babies go from eggs to adults, don't want to spend a lot of money, this is your fish. And look how cool it is watching them all eat that food. I don't know. I think that's what it's about.
Mesmerizing.
Yeah. Freaking awesome, man.
Oh yeah, they're picking that.
Yeah, I know. It's so cool. And then even cooler are some homebred Congo Tetras down here. So these, I kind of lucked my way into breeding them. I was trying to breed the Congo Tetras. I just got lucky. They ended up spawning. And these are the babies. Now I'm raising these out. I want to take them home and set up like a cool Africa tank with them, maybe with the Senegal birches.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be cool.
But I want to try breeding them again. I've got them set up over there, and I'm not going to bother showing you that because I want to try and figure it out. But I think what I'm going to try and do, I had them in rainwater, and I just had a pair, and they eventually spawned. I just came in one morning, they were laying eggs. I reckon what I'm going to do this time is take a pair of these, set them up in a 2-foot tank, cover the bottom with mops like I did with that other one, and eventually just slowly drop the water down the rainwater and try and trigger them that way.
Yeah.
So hopefully they go from like tap water to rainwater in the same tank. They don't wig by being moved, and then that gets them to spawn again, because these are a freaking awesome looking fish. Look at the tails. I feel like because these are, especially because these are homegrown, homebred, they just look a lot prettier. Like look how long their tails are. And look at the colours. They look like dinosaur, like, these are what a Jurassic fish would look like to me. The reason I think minnows are so easy to breed was I went to Eliza's fish room with Eric and Regina to show them the room. And while I was there, she had these little Vietnamese white clouds, and I've seen them before, but I asked if I could have a few, and I bought a couple off her. And I put them in this tank, and my plan was just to do one batch like that. And I just kind of never got around to it. And I checked this tank the other day, and there was like 2 or 3 fry up the top. So I got super excited. They must have bred in the coral bag, and they started to survive, or like over that coral bag, and the eggs must have fallen in there and not been eaten by the bristlenose or the snails or whatever. So I added a ton of this hornwort, and now there's tons of babies in here, man. Like, come and have a look at the top. I could easily count with my eyes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I only have like 6 adults down here, and there's a big one in there now too. So like, you're colony breeding, spawning like, you know, egg scatterers, which I think is neat, and there's a bare bottom tank. So I feel like, honestly, I know it's my product and whatever, I feel like the bug buffet makes a huge difference. Imagine feeding this flake, they wouldn't fucking survive.
No way.
They would, no way they would survive. But because you can smush it up into like a powder, dude, it's game changing because everything can eat. Like everything. So adults are eating, babies are eating, and like maybe your fish at home might be breeding and the babies might be getting to the free swimming size, but because of the food you're feeding, they might not be eating. So I also feed this green water now just to try and get as many babies as I can out. But I want to see, I'm going to colony breed these for as long as I can until I notice like there's never ever babies because it's just so full. I'm going to pull it apart.
Capacity.
I want to see what maximum capacity is.
Wow.
What do you reckon, like 100 fish?
Easy. Especially with
With that much hornwort stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking cool tank. I reckon these with the emerald rasboras might go well together. Look at all those babies. So cute.
Similar sized fish. So.
I don't think people can see this on camera, but there's just so many. There's like a cloud of little white clouds on the surface here. So they're not hard to breed. And coming on over here is another fish I'm super excited about. These are going home to the home collection. These are the black ocellatus from AB. So he's given me a trio. I've never played with ockies before, and I think they're the cutest thing ever. I know my girlfriend's going to love these fish, so that's a big win. But I'm also going to love these fish as well. So I'm going to set up a nice little Tanganyikan. Are they Tanganyikan?
Yeah, I think they are.
Well, I'm going to set up an ocellatus tank for them at home and just sit downstairs, drink a beer, just really enjoy this fish and get used to like that kind of weird behaviour of them moving their shells around and doing the whole thing. So they're only little, these ones, but you know, a bit of bug buffet, a bit of time, they'll grow, and then in no time we'll have little black ocky babies. I probably just overfed them a little bit here, but it's okay. There's a snail or a bristlenose in there that's going to help them eat some of that bug buffet. But you can see how well they respond to those little particles too. You getting that?
Yeah, that was awesome. I just want to read it.
Super cool fish, hey? I feel like, if I can be completely frank, because I set this place up as a business, I needed to breed stuff to make money. And these you could definitely breed to make money, but they're a bit slow and like there's more lucrative things out there. I feel like I boxed my selection of fish in a lot by doing that. And ever since I expanded the shop and, you know, opened up that side to make more money to cover all the place, I've been able to just like enjoy breeding any fish in here because I don't need to make money from it. And I've completely opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for breeding things, because the other thing too is I don't give a shit if these don't breed because they're just cool, you know? Where like back in the day I'd be like, oh, if they didn't breed in 3 months, I'd be like, I might move them on. But I've been really enjoying like exploring all those new species, like kind of like testing like my knowledge as well, like trying to round myself as more of like I've bred that, you know what I mean? Not for any purpose, just for myself. But see this tank, I've fed green water this morning, you can still see it in there. And here are some tiny little emerald rasbora fry, I think. Yeah, I think so, up the back. But they're actually eating away at that green water, whether you like it or not. So I'm gonna shove some bug for them. Oh, dude, this tank. These are the Arus, and these are the best blue eyes you can get, I reckon.
The most dainty looking fish.
Yeah, well, definitely better than the spotted. They've got that extra hook down the bottom, and I've been breeding the absolute shit out of these guys because they're so cool. So these are one where I actually will pick eggs. And a little breeding trick, if you get like a fish like this, and you're worried, like, because I only got a few of them, and not many people have them, if you're worried about, you know, breeding them, and, you know, something going wrong with them, I threw a couple of their babies in a tank at home. But what I'll do is if I have a tank like, for instance, I think these might have been Precox, the batch went bad. The Precox batch, I don't know, for some reason didn't hatch out properly. But I'll go through the mop. You can see it's a funny little rainbow mop. And every now and then, when I'm just bored and looking for something to do in here, you can see the eggs are in here. They lay eggs all the time. Every morning they'll lay eggs. I'll take these eggs and I'll find a tank like, for instance, this tank with tiny babies in it, and just throw 10 or 12 eggs in here. And what's going to happen is a few of them are going to raise up, and then all of a sudden I've had colonies crash on me and I'm like, shit, now I don't have breeders. At least once I raise these fish up, I can go around and find the little 1s and 2s around the place that I can use for breeding. So it just kind of like diversifies my portfolio when I get like a fish like that. Like I'd love to be able to do that with zebs, but they're like, I'd hate to not know where the zebs are because they're not zebs. But yeah, this is a shrimp breeding tank. We saw this one before. This is just a Medaka breeding tank. I'm going for a different method of breeding these. A lot of people, when they breed rice fish, keep them in a tank with one of these, a little rice fish spawning mop, and they go and lay their eggs in it. What I'm going to do is, I mean, I could do that, but then I'd have to like move them all the time. I'm put them in here with plants which have just insanely massive roots. So we've got a huge philodendron here with all of this root in here. And this is a synegodium or whatever it is with a ton of root as well. And these guys have been breeding like crazy and laying a bunch of eggs in here in all that root. So what I'm going to do is in a couple of days time catch all of the adults out and just let the babies raise up in here, and I'll get like 50. And it's just super easy that way. I don't have to pick any eggs and I get a nice little confined batch and it'll be kind of cool. So, down here, would you believe it or not, I think I've made 400 probably videos on breeding fish, but I've never bred goldfish. Not once. So I took a few of these goldfish out of the shop because I thought they were super cute, these little black moors. And I've got them in this tank in here. And at the moment I'm just kind of growing them out. I'm feeding them a ton of food and they eat bug buffet. They're actually real pigs for it. I'm growing them out for the moment. And what I'm going to do is when I start noticing that they're going to spawn, I'm hoping I'm going to catch them spawning in these mops. And I'm going to try and breed some. So I think goldfish kind of, in some ways, underrated, despite being goldfish. Like obviously everyone's kept them. I think they're great little wet pets. Like how cool is like a dumb little fish like that?
It's very interactive.
Yeah, they're like little puppy dogs.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're super cool. So maybe I'll start getting into goldfish if I can breed these. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, so these are fry tanks up here. You can see this one's still green. There's a bunch of Melander fry in here as well as some Aru babies and some other blue eyes. But yeah, you can see that green kind of stays in there. So I fed this at like 10 a.m. and now it's nearly like 9 p.m. So it lasts all day. Down here, these are the red neon blue eyes. Again, you're going to be flat out seeing them, but this is how I've set the tank up. Spawning mops, so I'm going to pull the mops Sunday, and I've got some banana leaves in here as well just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable like they're at home. And dude, I didn't realise how... They're quite dainty and flighty,
Yeah.
but dude, they must really like the bug buffet to be coming out, because like, dude, they never come out. But yeah, these are a great fish to breed for profit. If anyone wants to make a shit ton of money watching this video, breed these, because like they sell like hotcakes. Super easy to breed, super easy to raise to fry, and yeah, I feel like these should be way more popular. Down here, these are the daisy blue wrasse fish. I'm going to do the exact same way for these as I'm going to do for the Madakas, and we can actually in fact check this mop. It's been in there for a while. These are a funny looking one, like they've got like this luminescent eye. They're kind of annoying because you can't put them out in ponds over winter because they're more of a tropical fish. I just don't have the heart to get rid of them because they were so hard to get my hands on in the first place, which was years ago. They're way more common now. But I just want to have a go at breeding them this way. So they probably have laid a few eggs in here, I'd say. If not, they've been smothering them all over those tree roots.
There's an egg there. Oh, no.
I can find
Yeah,
it,
that's
found
an
a
egg
wrong
there.
one. Oh yeah, well there you go. So, yeah, 1, 2.
That's actually heaps.
I'm guessing, imagine how many are in this little root ball. Because that root ball's white, so we're not going to see them that well, and they're not going to see them that well. So there'll probably be a heap of eggs in there. This tank here, we got super excited while we were filming B-roll before. These are the Melander rainbow fish. They're not one that looks good in a breeding tank. These you definitely need like a planted tank for them, and I'm going to probably do that at some point. But I haven't had the heart to stop breeding them because I know a lot of people don't have them. So I kind of want to just like pump them out and just get them everywhere, because that way, if I get rid of them, I know I can get them again. But I had them in here, and I just had their spawning mop in here, and I was just chucking it around the place and seeing where the fucking eggs would hatch. But I just left it for like 2 weeks, and I came in today, and I added all of these banana leaves. We've got heaps of babies, like hundreds, man. So I got some really good B-roll before, and I feed these green water now too. But I'm colony breeding rainbow fish. How cool is that?
There is so many in there.
So if you keep your fish really well fed, like with bug buffet, and they're never hungry, I don't even know where I put the bug buffet.
There's
Yeah. And if they're never hungry, I feel like they the rat,
It's back.
dude. And Sam might have got it, dude. It sounded like a squeak or something. Is he okay? Sammy. Wigs. Okay, this place. Let's get this video wrapped up. I want to go home, bro.
Ghosts.
This ghost, the ghost of the fish room. If you keep them really well fed, I feel like they're not hungry enough to be bothered to try and catch their babies. Or maybe they know that they're their babies. I doubt that, but that's kind of cool. And I've also got a peppermint in here. Another little trick, if you don't have eggs in a tank and you don't want algae, throwing a peppermint in tanks or a bristlenose makes such a difference. Like, look how clean this tank is. One little bristlenose helping to clean it up compared to, say, like this tank. This one's been like completely mossed up. So more fry tanks, these are just more blue eyes. Up here, this is another fry tank, more blue eyes, more green water. I mean, every morning just coming around with the green water, just pouring a cup in, keeping them nice and well fed. These in here are some zebra danios, another little common species I bred and kind of embarrassed myself with, but I'm still going to post the video. I tried breeding these in a bucket. It just kind of went shitty on me and didn't work that well. But I did get 10 babies, so I did technically do it, and I'm raising the babies out in here. And I've also got some other bucket babies. Again, another kind of embarrassing fail, but I technically did it. Some Betta babies. So I'm going to try and breed the Bettas in a bucket again. I've just got them raising out in here. You don't really see them because they just hide. But I'm going to try and breed them again and like really put a lot of effort into it this time. But I'm just raising them out in here, and it's a little grow out tank. And down here, I have some wild type angelfish. So these are like ridiculously skittish. We'll see if they even come out. No. Oh. But I've got 2 pairs in here, and I'm just waiting for one to spawn because I want to try and breed angelfish again. Just for the sake of it, because I haven't bred them for a while, so I want to have another go at watching them raise the eggs, and I would actually really like to do a video on them. So I got them in here, bristlenose, helping keep the tank clean. A really dirty Amazon sword that I'm waiting for them to clean up. and I'm guessing that what's going to happen is one pair is going to bully the other. I can take the other pair out, and then they can spawn on these leaves, and I can just cut the leaves off, and we can start raising some angels. So I got a fry tank here. This is another fry tank. These are thread fins, and these are a notoriously hard fish to raise up. I know a lot of people struggle with them. What I've done is the babies are just ridiculously tiny. I use bug buffet, and I haven't really used green water that much on these because I hadn't figured out the green water trick when I was spawning a lot of them. And I got really lucky with this batch. I must have just been giving them a lot of attention and a lot of feedings. The last few batches went to shit again. And what I'm going to do this time is the next batch, I'm going to use a ton of green water and see if it makes a difference. But I did get in this batch there's probably 25, 30, which is still good because they're an expensive little rainbow fish and they're super awesome. And then in another batch I probably got another 20, 30. So 60 fish, not too bad, it's all right, it's a win. So yeah, they're this weird kind of rainbow fish where they're just super flighty. They just really wig out. They don't like people that much. So yeah, all right, let's go over here. There's some cool stuff going on over here. So like the 397s, these are another one on the to-go list. And these are the L134s. So I bred these accidentally ages ago. They've done nothing since. This has turned more into a shrimp breeding tank. And yeah, I don't know. When you're breeding fish, there's only a select few that you can put a lot of love into. If you're trying to breed 25 different species, one's going to miss out. And these are 25th on the list at the moment. So I think just due to the nature of them being quite tricky and infrequent spawners, I got bored. And also I do have the zebra plecos, which I care a lot about, and they breed the exact same way. So it's just like breeding the exact same fish with a different colour. It's like breeding 10 different types of mountain minnows. It's what's the point? So I still love them, and I guarantee you that when I throw them out 2 years later, well, not throw them out, when I sell them to someone else, I guarantee 2 years later I want them again, and they'll be hard to find, but that kind of happens with fish. So another blue shrimp breeding tank. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this tank because I don't want to take down the blue shrimp breeding tank, but I also want to put something above them. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. And down here, we've got a really, really annoying blue eye species that I'm trying to breed. So these are Tenellus, or these might be the golden blue eyes. They're one of the two that you find up in the Northern Territory. I don't know which one. I need an expert to tell me. We actually caught these with Dave Wilson, remember?
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, so they're really pretty. They're really pretty, and when you get them spiring, they're super cool. They lay tiny eggs. I can't figure out how often they lay them. And I can't figure out if they're terrible spawn robbers. They don't spawn the same as the other blue eyes. They kind of every 3 days will throw 10 eggs, and apparently people have got them really breeding well in containers outside. So I'm saving these for that. But at the moment, I'm just keeping the colony in here with a mop, and I've covered today the entire top with more hornwort. I'm going to see if I can colony breed them in the meantime, because those extra 5 or 6 fish that I might get might be the difference between me having fish to use in the pond or not. And then here are some ram babies. So I don't know what these are going to look like. These are a cross between a gold balloon ram and a blue black ram female. And you wouldn't know it in here, but there's probably, I don't know, a good 100 or so. Super skittish for some reason. So there's a few black ones, few little blue looking ones, but I don't know what they're going to turn into. And up here we've got some more rams as well. These are a cross between a blue black ram and a German blue ram. And we've gotten these really weird golden blue rams come out. I've got B-roll of them before, but they're they're like a German blue ram, but they don't have the black spot, and they've got more of a yellow body. So they're not they're like gold cross blue. You can see them coming out now. See what I mean?
Yeah, it looks awesome too.
They actually look quite cool. So I've just gotten into making all these little mutant fish. I don't really care anymore if they're perfect or not. I just like seeing the babies, so. And talking about babies, up here's the parents doing their job, raising up a spawn of their babies. So I saw them with eggs the other day, and I just left them because I couldn't be bothered raising up more rams. And they actually went through and followed through on the whole entire process, and now there's a cloud of babies. And the cool thing about this cloud is you can see dark ones and you can see light ones, which I think is super neat. The other cool thing is balloon rams get a terrible rap in the hobby, and it's because they're stunted weird looking fish. They kind of look like a goldfish crossed with like a parrot cichlid. Look, we've domesticated all the fish species. If you want to nitpick this specific fish, you might as well take everything out except for things that come out of the wild, which, as you can see up in the threadfin tank, are terribly skittish, and you don't see them unless you're like 5 meters from the tank. So this fish, I think, is kind of cool. And to see it doing what it would naturally do in the wild, raising up babies, is even cooler, I think. So again, this is another little bug buffet plug, but the reason I love it, you can smush it up, it turns into like a big snow in the tank, and all of those babies get to eat it. And you see it go all over the tank, cover up all these surfaces with the cyanobacteria, and you see the babies actually picking at it. So they're eating all day. So it works out really well. Up here's the parents of, I think, these fish, the blue female and the black male, but they're like ridiculously skittish. But I'm hoping to do the exact same thing with this tank with these guys, because how cool would it be to see like both of the pairs doing what they're meant to be doing. So I feel like letting fish naturally raise their babies has been kind of an awesome little discovery for me. Well, not even a discovery, just like a nice change up for the way of doing it. Down here is more ram babies, more red bristlenose as well, and a couple random meducas for no reason. Over here we got the Congo Tetra breeding tank, so I talked about that before. We're going to see if that works. Another little fry tank. These are spotted blue eyes, Facatus, just more blue eyes. Same with down here. These are the Aru babies. So I don't know how many are in there, like 20 or so. So I'm just raising them out, and yeah. But some other cool tanks we got. So these are some Praecox rainbows I bred. I kind of got obsessed with them and decided to smash out a few batches. These are quite old. These are probably about 5 or 6 months old at this point, and they're not that big. It's because I'm trying to grow them out in the same tank their whole life. So obviously they're not going to grow as quick because there's a little bit more ammonia in here. Well, not ammonia, but more nitrites. So I do have to keep on top of these water changes. But they're growing out slowly. I took about 10 of them out, 15 of them out the other day and put them in my living room tank. Up here we got a batch of thread fins. So these are another 30 that I was talking about earlier. So these are starting to get a little bit bigger actually. And I reckon I might chuck these in a pond over summer. What do you reckon?
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to sell all these. I know they're really popular, but
It'd be interesting to see the difference between breeding in a tank and in a pond.
yeah, I know. So we'll see how that goes. Up here are more Praecox as well. You know, between the two tanks there's a couple hundred, so not a bad haul. But there's something really neat in here that I have to show you. So this is just a super simple Endler breeding tank. These are like the platies, super easy to breed. And I've had this strain for like since 2018, easily. They've just managed to find their way into every single room. This is the exact same strain. So I just put some of my favorites in here and let them breed. I got a Siamese twin.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What?
if you come in here,
Well, there
I
is
thought
that.
he was munted. And I just let him, I was going to cull him and I was about to let him go. And then I just let him survive. It's a f***ing Siamese twin.
He's alive.
Yeah, you can see it's got a little gonopodium on the bottom one.
Wow.
So I think that's super neat. And he might be spreading his genes in here. So I don't know if that's something I want to promote, but it's kind of starting to turn into Lake Springfield in here, man. Like having I actually thought what happened was they had a prolapse because of the location of the Siamese twin. But as it's grown up, I've realized it's just a conjoined twin or like I don't know what it is. I think, is it a Siamese twin?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Pretty awesome though. And like he's been active in breeding, so like,
Yeah, he's normal.
yeah. This is another cool tank. I mean, how cool is it to see a tank full of the pond weed and just hundreds of fish? I think it's neat, especially when like they're all the same color. These are like little lasers. These are French blue star endlers. So down here, now we were talking about this as well. I think cardinal tetras are probably the best looking fish in the entire hobby
Totally agree.
in freshwater
Yeah.
and saltwater, I'd say too. I reckon these are super neat.
They pull it.
I've never bred them and I really want to have a go. So I've got them growing out in here with some emperor tetras, which are kind of, a few of them are a bit screwed up. I don't know why. I've just got them in here at the moment, just holding, growing them out, and I'm going to have a crack at breeding them in the Tetra rack, which I'm going to show you in a second. Dude, I've just had such a good time, like just watching this tank, watching the little cardinals. You turn the lights off, they look different when you go to different parts of the room, and they've been super neat. Down here is just a little batch again of rainbows, and these are some sex lineatas. So I made a couple hundred of these, and I put the parents out in the shop and sold them. But these are starting to get some colour. So the reason I bred these is because these are one that I don't want to see disappear from the hobby, and I think they're super neat and look super cool. So what I'm going to do is raise these out, take the best ones for myself, put the rest in the shop, and breed these again. And I'm just going to do like one batch at a time and just try and do my best to keep the progenies going. So over here, we've got thread fins. These are the adults. I think there's 4 of them in here. Unbelievably skittish. I've got a bit of B-roll of these too, but I'm just going to like let them keep breeding in here. What I'm probably going to do, I've noticed these started to do a little bit worse since it became winter in here. They were breeding really well for me in January and February, but now it's like gotten a bit colder. They've stopped breeding so well. I'm probably going to fill it with a bunch of hornwort, and when I start seeing fry at the top, I'm going to start trying to breed them intentionally again with the green water. These I got from AB yesterday. These are some 24 karat gold guppies, and I'm just going to like colony breed this tank up too, because look how cool that is for a guppy, especially against that black background.
Striking.
Yeah. I've got a crypt in here too. Actually, I have to show you this crypt.
Yeah.
Have a look at this. This is the biggest daddy crypt I've ever seen, dude. Look at the size of it. It's growing out of the water.
Oh,
Look at the look at the top. I was meant to show you this earlier.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I saved it.
It's so healthy.
Dude, I don't know.
Hit the root tab.
No, you know what it is? It's all the rams hide in here and in this pot, and that just goes straight in between this gravel.
Straight
and
fertilizer.
yeah, it's just fertilized the hell out of the crypts. The crypts seem to do really well in the low light in here. Crypts do okay. This val's doing okay. Some little swords do alright, but like, look, here's another big daddy crypt pot here.
Some more stuff.
And this is kind of cool too. The val.
Yeah.
The girls wrapped it up in the driftwood, and then started sending little pups out everywhere.
No gravel, just straight.
Yeah, exactly. Just floating plant. Up here, these are the Ivan Stoffies. These are another blue eye. We talked about them in the last tour. I came really close to losing these guys, and I got lucky with a few of the extra fry I had around the fish room, raised them up, and now I'm using them as the breeding colony. These aren't anything too special in regards to their body, but they're definitely a little collector blue eye, and they also have the bluest of the blue eyes. So like, they're super luminescent. I mean, in all the fry tanks, you can tell instantly which ones are the Ivan Stoffies the second they hatch. They like have like a laser of a blue eye, which I think is really neat. I mean, you talk about blue eyes, you want to that's a blue eye there. They just stand out.
Striking.
These up here, I've got some of these black Emperor Tetras. I've actually bred a couple of them. This is another little Tetra holding tank. So I've also got some embers in here. And I'm just collecting a few of the really common ones that I want to try and breed, and getting them just up to like, I'm conditioning them so that when I'm ready, I can pull them out and use them in the other rack. But I'm only doing one Tetra species at a time. So I've got those up there. More Praecox babies down here. And then up here, this is where I've got neons. So I've actually been breeding a ton of neons. So I'll show you guys those babies when we get to the other side. I've also got these huge rummy nose that came in, and I'm growing them out too because I'd love to try and breed rummy nose, because how many people do you know who've done that? And yeah, I've had actually quite a bit of success with the neon, so we'll talk about it when we get there. Down here we got more sex lineatas, and up here, these are probably worth mentioning. These are the pygmea, so the pygmy rainbow fish. Now, Jason gave me a few of these fry out of the pond at the end of summer, and I've grown them out in here. And what I'm going to do is when it gets warmer in the fish room, I might have a bit more of a crack at trying to breed a ton of these up, because these are a super cool nano, or relatively smaller rainbow fish species, and they're super, I think they're colourful. They're just a little bit skittish at the moment because they're a little bit small, but I got them in there. And down here, I'm trying to do what we did with the Vietnamese white clouds with these pearl danios. So these aren't celestial pearl danios, these are just your normal like blue pearl danio. And I actually bred all these guys when I did like a little batch at the end of last year, and now they're adults. So I'm hoping that we can do the exact same method with these that I did with the white clouds, and hopefully just tons of babies start appearing in here, and colony breed them. Here's some more sex lineatas. And then up here, this is another daisy blue rice fish tank. We had a batch of daisy blues in here. The girls caught them all out and put them in the shop. And then 2 weeks later, there was a cloud of babies in here again. So we just raised them up again. And these are the adults now. So they've all raised up to adults. I'm going to do the exact same thing, swipe them all out and try and see if there's another big tank of them and just do the constant cycle. Every 4 months we get a whole new batch of homegrown rice fish. These are the praecox up here, the parents. And I've talked about this fish a lot. Definitely one of my favorite rainbows. They do get a little bit bigger than this, but they're super easy to breed. Definitely the most colorful. I mean, you can see right here, they're awesome, the dwarf neon rainbow fish. The guy who was breeding these had been line breeding them since they came into Australia, like in the 80s. So I feel kind of lucky to have got these on my hands. Jason gave me these. And since then I've been breeding them like crazy. These are my F1s. So now I'm on to continuing on the strain. So what I'm going to do is, when those babies get bigger, take the nicest ones out, or maybe even take some out of the home tank and go again and just keep trying to refine that line. Up here, this is kind of a fail of a tank. I'm trying to colony breed these killifish, the clown killies. I got these off Jason as well, who I think he got them off his mate Morris. Well, he's also my mate Morris. And Morris did some photography with them and then gave Jason the babies. And then Jason, I think Jason even bred them and gave them to me. Dude, I can't get them to breed. You'd think that in here, I've seen eggs in here because I see where they go fungus. You'd think that the eggs would survive in all this moss and stuff. Green water. I've been pouring green water in there. So that's the next trick. We're going to start pouring some green water and see if that works, but kind of frustrating. We've seen this one. Down here, we'll finish off on these 2 tanks and we'll go to the Tetra room. Down here, I've got 2 spawns of Tewa Creek rads. So I don't have any adults to show you, but I do have quite a lot of babies. These are just another little rainbow fish. I've actually been collecting rads, if you guys want to watch a video of that. Yeah, these are super duper cool. Like a long, narrow rainbow fish. And again, these are one where like, I'm gonna raise these up, take the nicest ones out, do another batch and grow them up. So I just kind of like always have them, but I'm not like intensively breeding them. So I've got more babies here. And that's kind of what's going on in this back room. I've also, over here, at the moment, got a little project that I'm working on. So I do want to try and breed some more bettas again because I haven't done it for a while and it was super fun the last time I did it. I've got these pairs set up, so we're going to do a little video where we're going to breed all these different pairs. But I've got like an alien betta, a couple of, I've actually bred these fish here, these females. These are the blue marble placat females. I've got a super awesome like Hellboy looking one here, blue marble placat that I bred. Oops, sorry. Nice half moon, long fin half moon, galaxy koi, and a yellow Hellboy. And we're going to try and breed these at some point soon in the channel. So at the moment, I'm just conditioning them up. The way I condition them up is I put them in the containers and I make these little paper dividers. I let them see each other for a couple of minutes a day and then put it back. I'm feeding them all frozen brine shrimp and the females are getting super gravid. I've been conditioning them for like 2 weeks now. I condition them for ages. I just want to make sure that that female's rearing to go. And I also change the water every day. So I feed them, change the water, and yeah, like obviously I don't want to keep the fish like this. I'd love to have them all in like a little 5-gallon tank, but that's just not possible. That's how they make these fish. So
How much water do you change out?
Sorry?
How much water do you change out?
I pour out the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just pour
100%.
the fish into a hand. Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go to the back Tetra room and we'll finish up there because I've got some little cool babies I want to show you guys. Okay, if we see a rat here, I'm going to freak out. Let's do this. No rats, I don't think. So this is the back room. I've got a video of setting up this whole rack here. I set it up and had no clue what to do with it. And as we've gone on, I obviously sell fish food. That side of my business has grown and we've needed more space to store stuff. So this has kind of come a little bit redundant, but I found a really good use for it. So I really got into breeding tetras, and you can see down here, I do have some baby neons in this tank. So these are a little bit bigger and they're just starting to get their little neon stripe. So I figured out all these little 5-gallon tanks are perfect for spawning tetras. So the way I've been breeding the neons is I took a handful of this peat moss stuff and I put it in a tank with pure water, so pure RO water, like you can see in here. All of it sinks down to the bottom and it forms like a little molmy layer. And you can see right here, at the moment I'm setting up these tanks. I'm going to try and breed like the cardinals and stuff in these tanks. You can see that moss is slowly falling to the bottom. What I went ahead and did was covered the bottom of here in a few balls of moss, and I added a pair of neons in each tank. And the first time I did it, only one pair spawned. So I set them all up again, but this time I added way more mops. And the more mops meant more fry. I went from getting like 15 fry out of 5 attempted spawns to like this tank had fry, this tank had fry, this tank had fry, this tank had fry. And most of them had at least 50. Now I kind of f***ed up and only... Ooh.
It's in the box. It's definitely in there. Get it, Sammy. Get it, Sammy. Get it.
No, dude, I can see it.
Really?
Yeah. Where? It's in there. Okay, how are we going to get...
Get it, Sammy. Dude, Sam will eat it. Take the top off that thing. That's what the noise was coming from.
Dude, the wasp one. Now this.
Get it, Sammy.
Dude, he missed it, dude.
Damn it.
Okay, alright, let's just let him like
He'll catch
work
it.
on that, yeah. He's gonna get caught in a trap anyway, so.
Man.
Okay. Go get him, Sammy. Alright. So, I don't even remember what I was saying. So, yeah, so that second round, it works so much better. It worked so much better. I've got a video on this coming out at some point. The one thing that went wrong, I feel like either the pH crashed in here because there was no mineral in the water, or what happened was the babies weren't getting enough food, so I'm going to try and do it with green water this time. Up here I've got some Emperor Tetra babies. I'm going to try and breed those again, and you can see like I'll do B-roll. I'll show you all this in B-roll. I do have more Emperor Tetra babies in here too. They haven't worked well. I found Tetras like kind of like a little bit difficult at the moment to breed. You know what? I'm going to go get off the camera and laugh. I'll just see you guys in the next video. That's crazy.
Dude, I'm literally crying.